Good morning. I'm Nicholas. Welcome to the AV. Good. Today I have Poria for X. Good morning, Poria.
Good morning, Nicholas. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to be here with you.
What FX syndrome?
We're here to talk about Fragile X syndrome, right?
Yep.
So what is Fragile X syndrome? Fragile X syndrome is a genetic condition that is inherited. And when you have Fragile X syndrome, you have things like intellectual disability, behavioral challenges, learning challenges, and different kinds of sensory issues and some physical characteristics also.
How do FX syndrome?
How does someone get Fragile X syndrome? So Fragile X syndrome is passed. I carry Fragile X syndrome. So when I have a baby, I have it because I have the gene. I have a 50% chance of passing it on to each of my children. So in my situation, I have 2 children, and both of my children have Fragile X syndrome as a result of me carrying the gene.
How many people in USA FLX?
So when we talk about Fragile X syndrome, it's what we call a spectrum disorder. So there are people like your friend Matthew who has Fragile X syndrome. We say that happens about 1 in every 3,600 males. Women can also have Fragile X syndrome, but it doesn't happen as frequently. So it happens more like once every 4,000 to 6,000 births. We say there's 1 million people in the United States living with some sort of Fragile X. Some people, like your friend, have Fragile X syndrome. Some people carry it, like myself, and we don't really have any symptoms. And then there are other people who have different kinds of disorders that are related to the X chromosome. So we say 1 million people in the US have some sort of Fragile X mutated gene.
How FLX sent?
How does it affect people?
Yeah.
So like autism, Fragile X syndrome is what we call a spectrum disorder. So there are some people that hardly have any symptoms at all, and there are some people who are very severely affected. So they have learning disabilities. Some people have physical characteristics, like some individuals with Fragile X syndrome have a long face, or they have ears that protrude. You know how Matthew's brother Benjamin has those ears that stick out? So he has some of the physical characteristics of Fragile X syndrome.
What is the FLX?
So, okay, what is the National Fragile X Foundation? So when Matthew was little and I was looking for some help and some answers, I found on the internet the National Fragile X Foundation. At that time, they were based out of California. Now they're in Washington, D.C. And what they do is if you have a baby, let's say, and your baby has Fragile X syndrome and you don't know what to do, you call them and they'll help you. They'll put you in touch with people who live near you. Let's say you live in New Jersey. You get my phone number and you call me and I try to help you and maybe match you up with other families in the state that have a child similar to yours. So they offer community support, the foundation. They offer awareness. You know how Matthew and I go to Washington every year and we talk to our lawmakers about increases in funding for research for Fragile X. And that we're also involved in research to try to find effective treatments and ultimately a cure for Fragile X syndrome.
What do you do that?
What do I do there?
Yeah.
So I volunteer my time in 3 different ways. First, I'm the parent contact for the state of New Jersey. I have a co-leader who lives up north, and I try to support people in the middle and in southern New Jersey. Second of all, I'm a regional leader, and I support the people who help families in the Northeast. So like from Maine to Pennsylvania, I support the people who help other people. And also, I sit on the board of directors and try to guide the foundation as we go forward.
How people love me FLX?
How can they learn more?
Yeah.
So that's the best way to learn more is to go to the website, which is www.fragilex.org. All the answers to all your questions can be found there.
Do you want to have else?
No, but I'm so happy to be here with you, and thank you for doing this and helping me raise awareness for Fragile X syndrome.
Thank you for my my TV show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.